Saints fans, welcome back to Saints TV podcast. Unfortunately, after our fourth loss of the season, and to no one worse than the Hawks on Saturday afternoon, down by 10 points in the end, and it was 10 points. So it was 12 goals 6 to 12 goals 16. So the scoreline, the margin rather, is flattering to us at St Kilda. Boys, I thoroughly hated going to that game. Watching us go down in the way that we did reminded me of the old days of St Kilda, where we'd be up against a better side than Hawthorn and just fall short. But unfortunately, it was to the 16th place Hawks. So I'm not feeling great about the weekend. Boys, how are you feeling, Jakey? I'm sure you've got a lot of words.
It's kind of like it's the first time I've done like a review with the fans, and it went for like half an hour in my car, and then I still felt like anger. Like I then did a review of the review for 8 minutes where I just needed to rant to the camera for like 8 minutes. And I don't think I've done that ever on Saints TV. So that wasn't fun. I kind of feel like the game hasn't actually happened yet, like it's this time last week. And I just kind of be like, oh, that didn't happen. So we're just going to get into it this weekend. But it's happened. We stuffed it. Yeah. And it's, the other losses we've had this year, even Adelaide, you kind of take a bit away from it and you're like, okay, there's a few things to learn and this and that. But this is a sort of game where it's like, oh, there's not really much to take away apart from like anger, basically. Wasn't fun.
So you're really going through the 5 stages of grief here, Jakey, all in different orders. But Marshy, how are you doing down there?
Yep, lads and listeners. That was disgusting, to be honest. It was just stale. I didn't have a good feeling because I felt like this was a ripe game for the true St Kilda to come out and just show us what we're made of. And we should, all intents and purposes, Hawthorn aren't that much chop this year. I know Ross and his presser said how even the comp is, and that's true to an extent. But, we saw how we just didn't rock up. So in this competition, you get found out pretty quickly. And one of the things that was seemingly a trademark of ours was that we were rocking up, we were switched on, just all the things that are easy to do, I guess, in a sense that if everyone's on board pushing for the same goal, that's when we looked all right. But there was none of that manic pressure. There was no will to get things done. We played like millionaires when really, we should have been lining up at Centrelink at times during that game. And you're right at the start there, Joycey. Hawthorn, the scoreline flattered us. We should have been absolutely pumped. And it was just madness repeating the same things again and again. Like Sicily, he doesn't play for St Kilda, so why are we kicking it to him? And
there was 43, did he? 43.
It was gross. I think he didn't have much in the third quarter, did he?
He had 4 disposals.
There you go.
So could have had 50.
Yeah. But what I will say, it was pretty good at the start of the game, before the game. The highlight of the day was not the game, but down at the social club in the victory room, we had Machida Owens and Matt Allison come on out. Joycey was running late, listeners, so I got thrown in the deep end with Jakey to be on stage asking a few questions. I've gone the big, like dramatic intro for the players, like give it up for, and they're waiting to come on, and I just give it the old Mitch Allenson, and as soon as I said it, I'm just like, no.
Oh no.
No. So I've like half corrected myself, and the boys are just walking up on the stage like, just let's get going. Like, this is shocking. But once we it was so poor. It was so poor because I think I was saying to you, Joycey, as a Matt, the fellow Matt, we get that all the time, the Mitches, the Marks, the Michaels, and I've never done it before in my life to a fellow Matt, but I mitched him. Which
you mitched him.
benched him, but yeah, oh no, that's my
We,
piece.
hey, we needed him out there, or we needed Mitch Owens out there
We
on the
did.
weekend.
We
Yeah.
really
I think we needed a few more things out there as well as a couple of 19-year-olds. It was a mare of a day. It was just a shocking day on the field. You look at the numbers. I didn't look at the numbers. I refused to look at anything until the next day. Like
Yeah.
I got up on my Sunday morning, went for a walk with the doggies, had a coffee, sat down on the couch. The dogs fell asleep, and I was like, okay, now's the time. I'm not watching the replay. I'm not putting myself
No,
through that. I'm not going
no.
to do it. But I will look at the stats, and I had a look at the stats, and just the domination with ball in hand by Hawthorn, and just the spread around the ground of the touches. Like the damning stat for me was Jai Newcomb's hotspot on the ground. It couldn't have been smaller. If you go in and have a look at it, I'll show you on camera here, boys.
Yeah,
But
show us.
he had 31 disposals, right? And usually when your heat map shows 31 disposals, you're all over the ground. Like if you look at the Rory Laird, he's getting touches in the back pocket, he's getting touches in the forward pocket and everything like that. Look at this bloke. Look at this bloke's hotspot.
Oh wow, that's a bullseye.
It is literally a bullseye. It's just all in the center of the field, and it just shows me how poor of an effort our midfielders made when it came to hunting the ball. We had a top possession getter, Brad Crouch, who knocked up 26. Wanganeen Malira tried his heart out all day, who had 25. He was probably one of our best, along with Stocker and King.
Yep.
So good signs that King is back and he's kicking goals and he's kicking straight. He's kicked 8 goals, 1 in 2 weeks. So he's really hit the ground running, which is great. But Ross said in his press conference, and I saw at the ground, that he barely did a thing in the fourth quarter due to fitness. He was cooked. So apparently he was vomiting at 3/4 time, but he was cooked. There was no returning from him. So unfortunately, he would have put in a lot of hard work in the third quarter with Cooper Sharman to keep out James Sicily, but we weren't able to sustain that for the game. This is where your injuries start to hurt you at the start of the season with blokes that have had an interrupted preseason.
Yeah, another damning stat though, which is the first time this year I think we've been well beaten. Usually we don't allow a single one of these bounces.
Yeah,
16-3 Hawks way.
It's
We
just
don't know. That's most of the games this year. You go back, we allow 1 or 0, and we're having 8 or 9 ourselves. 3-16. They're prancing and dancing through traffic, and again, plenty of missed tackles like the Adelaide game. Just so many lackluster efforts where they just break the tackle, a few handballs, and they're running in waves.
Yeah.
And how often did you see just one bloke, like say Bradley Hill, he's going for the man, and there'd be 1, 2, 3 other saners just watching.
Yeah.
Instead of, them making the decision to go, I'm going to bust my ass off to cover him as well. Because if he breaks Bradley's tackle, then bang, I'm coming over the top. Like Crouch had a few good moments like that. When we looked good, that was when we did those sorts of actions. But for too often throughout the game, we just hoping someone else would go and do the hard work. And if they couldn't get it done, then it's just like, oh well, and that's where they're getting those bounces you speak of, Jake, because there was zero pressure and for large portions of the game, and there was bullshit pressure. That was just, we're going to run there, but we're going to corral you. That doesn't, that's okay sometimes, but the Hawks were shitting their pants in the first, bit of the game when the heat was on, and Butler did that sexy rundown tackle on Eamon. Was it Eamon or? In the goal square. But anyways, there was just none of that really throughout the rest of the game. But I don't know. It just really frustrated me.
Another thing that jumps out to me is that handball game. When your pressure's not on, that's our Achilles heel. Like that's it. The handball game, the handball chance. Like they had nearly 90 more disposals or 70 more disposals than us. We actually had more kicks than them. It was their 83 more handballs than us. that was the difference, because they just had those chains like that you spoke of, Marshy, where they break one tackle and then they knew they were through.
Yeah.
And it was easy, you know?
Yeah.
Whereas with us, when we get the ball, we're just doing the over the top. They should be banned.
They're the worst. I think Dan
save-
Butler invented it, but everyone's picked up on it after that.
But dead set, yeah. All right. If you're in the top four and you're flying, you're playing rock star football, yeah. All right. But we're not the Dynasty Richmond teams. We're not Melbourne. We're St Kilda. We haven't earned the right to be doing party boy shots over the back of the head, not even looking. Like, get the basics, the fundamentals right before you start being Cowboys.
And I think one of those fundamentals, just to interrupt there, boys, and you said it before, Marshy, but in simpler terms, we've stopped working for each other. We really have. We're not working as a cohort anymore. We're not working as a team. That's really fallen off over the past 4 weeks. In the first 5 weeks of footy that we saw, all the good things were happening off of the back of helping your mate out. And even if, like, having full trust in your mate to do the effort, but even if it goes the wrong way, we're still here to back you up. And we haven't been backing each other up at all.
No, well said. And the main thing that really, really, really annoyed me and just gifted Hawthorn so many easy opportunities was, I don't think it happened once in the game where the ball's coming in and their forwards are just getting a clean run at it. No one's standing in the laneway. No one wants to, put the body on the line. We're doing that every game for the first 6 or so weeks. But they just step to the side and go, all right, Dukes will handle it. Wilkie will handle it. Battle will handle it. But our mid to small, pretty much everyone, no one stood in the laneway. And yeah, you're gonna wear a bit of contact sometimes, but that's where, again, it goes back to, I'm gonna back my man that he's gonna, try and minimize the carnage that could be coming my way. But I know if I affect that, it's positive for the team, and then everyone else lifts. But the moment they see other people doing it, it just filters through the camp, and if they're not doing it, why should I?
I think our defense has been found out, just the way we play. I think I just decided to look through the first 6 weeks, boys, and look at I know I'm sticking on this, but it's really important, the kick to handball ratio with the opposition and what we could control in the game. And you look at the Bulldogs game, the Carlton game, the Gold Coast game, about 220 to 230 kicks to 150, 160 handballs. So, significantly more kicks than handballs. Yeah. And lately, with the teams that have beaten us, they're creeping up the 180, the 190, nearly 200 handballs per game. Hawthorn had more handballs than kicks in this game. Yeah. That doesn't happen very often.
No.
And I think that just means that the game's a high-tempo game. We don't have time to set ourselves. The game is going to be more play on than not because of it. Yep. And we're unsettled. And if you look at the Bulldogs game, the Carlton game, how do we beat them, boys? We made them bomb down the line, constant kicking, very rarely having any handball chains.
That's because we're on them.
We were on them.
Right. And I think we also, you talk about Gold Coast and Carlton. I think that they were at the stage there where there wasn't a coach that came in and figured it out. There wasn't a coach that came in and went, St Kilda, zone defense, frenetic pace attack, and then work back hard to get into that zone defense. They're not running up and down the field as hard as they think they are because they're running to get to a position in the zone. They're not running to get into a defense. They're not running to get numbers back in time to cover all defenders and to maybe flood a little bit. What they're doing is just covering maybe 20, 30 meters each of the ground. We can slice that up through handball. And North Melbourne weren't good enough to do it. They tried to. They're not skilled enough to do it, but all the teams around that have been skilled enough to do it, and that's why we got carved up by Port Adelaide, who I'll give were the first team to do it to us. Collingwood, we were really close to them in that match purely based on the fact that we wanted to play the same game of footy. But I think I'll turn the page now if we're done complaining about the game.
Yep.
No, I'm not.
Please move on.
yeah. Just dissect it a little bit more.
Yeah.
I walked into that match with an attitude to go, okay, I don't have full faith that we're going to come out with the win, but I'm going to go and watch. And I'm going to watch the magnets move. I'm going to sit up on level 3 and I'm going to watch what's happening. So from what I've seen over the past 4 weeks is that teams have now figured out that zone against us doesn't work.
So you thought we weren't going to win that game?
I didn't say I thought we weren't going to win. I
Mm.
said I'm not going in with full confidence. So I think that we should beat Hawthorn, but the way that we've been playing over the past 5 weeks says it's going to be a close game. It doesn't say we're going to blow them out of the park. I hope to God it was going to be one of those games where we blew them out of the park, but I think we just showed up with the same structure and same strategy that we've been going in with over the past 4 weeks. And Sam Mitchell's a good enough coach, and he's starting to get the playing group now to pull that apart. And quite frankly, the only reason they didn't pull it apart more and win by more was they were missing a lot of shots on goal. So we were under real heat, and that was their game plan, to come in with frenetic pressure and attack and to own the footy, to hog the footy, to take it away from us. And defensively, man on man. And I've said it week after week, man on man is the bane of our existence because we're not big enough. We're not strong enough.
No,
We
and
can't.
that's evident in the midfield though, more than anywhere.
Yeah, and that's why we got so done in the midfield on the weekend, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like Jackie Steele came off with 14 disposals.
Seb Ross, what did he get? 15?
Oh, something like that.
Around that ballpark, yeah.
Yeah, Jack Sinclair for the first time this year got under 20.
It shows that, we lost Hunter Clark early. I dare say, so important,
Yeah.
critical in that midfield, that type of player, and we lost him early.
Yeah, but I still don't think he was the key. I still don't think any one player.
But he would have added a point of difference.
He would have added some flavour, as Marshy would put it.
Yeah, absolutely. Because the moment he went down, the only point of difference mid we had would be Sinclair, and when you have him in for a whole game, pretty much, which I think he was, once Clark, he was in there for the majority of it. You lose that the Hawthorn mob acclimatized to Sinclair, and they're like, okay, he's the one we got to watch out for. So let's try and shut him down. And like Gresham, he had a shocking game, and so we had, all in all, we were just one rotation short of injecting something a little bit different to what our primo mids in Crouch, Steele, and Ross were offering. And when I saw Sharman named as the sub, I thought that was a massive mistake. I was very surprised because it's a running game. It's a running game that we play. And I know you wanted the mid forward, Joycey, but to be honest, like, we got smashed in the middle, and we've been getting smashed. Here, like, we've been getting smashed there all year, pretty much. And the games that we've struggled in, we've been smashed in the guts.
Yeah.
So it only makes sense to have a midfield as a bit of support to come on in.
So this is all building up. This is all. I've had a lot of time to think about this. I had the day.
Have you gone into the war room? Have you got like a key?
I've gone in. I don't need to go into the kitty. I don't need to go into the kitty, because if we're looking for a simple solution this year, it will come. But I think that the biggest problem, and which this is alluding to, is in the midfield. We don't have and when I was saying we're getting beaten one-on-one in contests, is because we don't have the bodies to be able to monster our opponents. So the only bloke that I see from St Kilda that constantly monsters his own opponent is Machado Owens, and you can't be having that from a 19-year-old kid. You can be having it, but you can't be letting him set the example. You need your bigger boys and your older boys to be setting that sort of example. We fall by the wayside constantly. So we need someone to bring in that mongrel, to bring in that never say die attitude. And this is a long shot, right? And I don't know if anyone would have thought about this, But I came across a cheeky article the other day about ex-AFL players who have registered for the mid-season draft, and there is one name that caught my eye, and I went, I want him in a Saints jumper in the middle of this year, because I think he'll change the attitude of the football club and he'll change the attitude of the midfield, and he's a weird type, and he's been delisted twice, I believe, but I think he is the perfect fit for the Saints midfield, and that is Mitch Robinson.
Oh, I love Mitch Robinson.
Yeah, it's an odd one, isn't it? But
has he put his name forward?
He's put his name forward for the mid-season draft.
I'd have him. I'd have him
for 6 months until you can find someone better. He's begging to get back into an AFL club and begging to play AFL football again. I reckon we give him the chance. He's the bull we're looking for. He's the Sam Powell, Pepper, Jason Hoare, Francis, bloody Jai Newcomb type that we need. Someone who's just going to put their head over the ball, hurt bodies, make them scared, not lose on one-on-one.
It's all, that's fair. That's fair. But surely we can look internal, boys. Like, surely there's players there that are capable. Like,
I don't think so.
Surely there's someone there that's capable of doing that outside of Machito Owens.
Yeah, and I
why
thought it
can't
was going to
be that player.
It was interesting listening to the press conference that Ross had, and it was interesting to hear what Corey Enright said to Marcus Windhagen. I thought that was brilliant. Jimmy Bartell spent a year in the twos, trying to overcome what it is that he needed to overcome. And now for Windy, it sounded like they were alluding to maybe defensive running or structure-wise.
He's still bedding down aspects of our game plan, and that's fair enough. But I look at all the senior players that were running out there on the weekend. They've got no clue themselves.
Are they doing defensive running? Are they leading the way? I don't think so.
I don't think it's a running issue for our senior players. I think it's now a body issue. I think that as soon as someone tries to breed an attacking brand of football into the AFL, you've got 18 other teams trying to stop it. 17 other teams currently trying to stop that. So Collingwood's come in with that attacking brand of football and have gone, okay, we're going to run through zones, we're going to handball, we're going to kick, and we're going to keep moving forward, and just out and out skill and move it into the forward line that way. And I watched on the weekend, North Melbourne really tried their heart out to stop it. And they're doing the same thing to Collingwood. They're going man on man. And I think the issue here is that Collingwood have found a way to get around that man on man system. And not only that, not only is it beating their opponents and focus on beating their opponents, but it's also having a very, very functional half forward line and very functional midfield. And this is where the run also comes from the midfield. We're talking about defensive running. I'm not sure our midfield knows how to offensively run and create space for our half forwards to lead up into. I feel like we're still trying to flog the dead horse of running from behind and getting all the momentum from behind. I think now we need to look at a more traditional structure of football and look at our half forward line and look at our centers and go, okay, now we need you guys to work together. So what we need to do is we need the centers. Okay, it's fine to run ahead of the football, but we need you to lead back up at it. And if you're not going to lead back up at it, you're going to lead into the middle of the ground. And that leaves your opposition two choices. They either follow you into the middle of the ground, and by following you, they create a passageway for your half forwards to come into, to lead up into and go, okay, put it on my chest here. So you're clearing the space for the half forwards to come into. Or they decide to guard the space where that half forward is and let the player run into the middle of the ground. And all of a sudden, you've got an option through the corridor. I watched Tom Mitchell do that 10 times in the third quarter against North Melbourne, and it buried them.
It also comes down to leadership too, like on field, telling blokes what to do, where to be.
Yeah, it's a big part of it.
Again, there is a junk mail, but I'm going to just throw it in early. But they think that, again, flogging a dead horse, we talk about all these things, but until we have players on field that are driving this approach, this is not good enough. This is bullshit. until we have players like, and they say, yes, we've got leaders, we've got Wilkie, we've got Steele, we've got these guys. But he goes, look at what we had. Look at what we had. We had Goddard, we had Hayes, we had Rewald, we had Hamels, we had these blokes, you know?
We were spoiled.
We were spoiled. We are nowhere near that. Like,
Nah.
we aren't. We're nowhere near that.
It's just
So
and we
players
know
need to,
we've
yeah, we
talked
know
ad
that.
nauseum. Like, it's just
Absolutely.
been such a poor breeding ground for leadership since
Yeah.
Rue left, pretty much. And it's hopefully that's something that they're working on. You know, I'm sure they are. But
yeah,
it's
yeah.
but how do you boys feel about Rossi? Because to me, I'm getting a bit over here in the exploration year, because to me, like, the going to, like, all right, you go to, say you're a foodie and you discover a new restaurant, you go, you beauty, you go there, you go, that was nice. I'm just going to keep going back there and back there, but eventually you're like, oh yeah, it's no longer a treat. It's just something, yeah, it's just familiar, but you're no longer exploring. We've had the lowest turnover of, players played this season. We've spoken about that, and one of the key things is selection integrity. And I know Windy's in the VFL working on his craft. Bytel can't get a gig for whatever reason, but we're seeing, a few players have gone to the same restaurant. Their bellies are full, and they've just lost that verve, the jus de vie, where, part of the reason why we were so exciting and fresh was at the start of the year was because exactly that. We had players that were fresh, they were excited to be there, to play together. But it just seems that we're slowly, the last 10 years of development that some of the boys have gone through with St Kilda, it's old habits die hard. And we haven't seen a chutzpah call come from the coach's box yet for selection.
It's unpredictability too, isn't it? At the start of the year, no one knew what to expect. Now every week, like last week, we lost Owens, but we made there was no change, change.
Because you're not telling me that. No disrespect to Ben Patton, but how many half-back flankers do we need, or back pockets?
That's been our issue for 10 years, hasn't it?
100%.
Like, so many half-back flankers.
Stocker.
Yeah.
And you've got to remember, Nick Caulfield's still there as well, and he's not playing footy. There's another half-back flanker. Like,
that's but you're telling me that Mitch Owens goes out, we make no changes, and it's Ben Patton that's taken his spot.
And Sharman doesn't sub. It's just
Sharman is a sub.
Yeah,
selection. I'd rather Membry. Give us Membry.
Yeah,
yeah. Well, he played at Sandy.
He did. Yeah. But
I think that we've been also hindered. We can't forget by a lot of injuries is the other side of that. But in terms of, like, I was watching the game on the weekend, and halfway through the first quarter. Not even. It was about 3 minutes in, and Sicily had already had 5 touches. And I said to Dad, I was like, I wouldn't be surprised if Cooper Sharman comes on very soon. And there's a sub made. So I think that Hunter Clark was I reckon he would have played with his knee niggle. But I think we made the choice to put on Cooper Sharman, but lost in the role.
That's not even personnel. That's just being smart about how you're delivering it into the forward line. It's so simple.
Yeah.
Don't kick it to him. Don't kick it to him.
And this
lead.
Is what
get your forwards to lead.
That's what I was saying about the game plan, wasn't it? You blokes understand it fully. Like, get your forwards to lead, make your defenders accountable, go to a traditional style of play, and see what happens. So I wouldn't be surprised if we go away. Sorry, say what you're going to say there.
So just quickly, like, because traversely at the other end of the ground, that's exactly what they were doing, and that's what the teams have worked out. Is that okay? Sweet. Let's separate. Let's make sure that Wilkie, Battle, and Howard. Let's break up their little water cooler chat. Let's take them out to different parts of the ground so that when the ball comes on, it is that sort of that one-on-one more often than not, rather than them just sitting back and going, all right, you beauty. All right, Howard, you go up. I'm going to come in from the side, blah, blah, blah. But we don't do that.
No, and it's something that we'll need to work on. And we've got a week and a half now to work on it. And unfortunately, it's a week and a half where a lot of blokes are going away. We're speaking of Mitchy Owens and Matty Ellison before the game. They're off to Gold Coast or something. But it is something that I think we'll need to flick the switch on pretty quickly if we're going to play finals this year. Because if we're going to expose a team right now, the way that Hawthorn has exposed us, Sydney Swans is the right team to do it against because they don't have key defenders at the moment.
Oh,
Yeah.
They've got a lot of
They're
players.
right.
Yeah.
They're rattled. Yeah.
Yeah.
I say they're right, but
Yeah. They're not. Yeah. The fruit's there for eating, but they had a good win against Carlton because they wanted to win. They looked like the only team on the park that really cared about winning. But yeah, it's also a very, very hard time to learn that structure because it's at the SCG. But it is so important on the SCG to do that sort of smart running to clear out space to make sure your players have got the best chance of getting a goal. But you're right. And this is where we need to go back to the drawing board and we need to source a little bit of traditional Saints footy from that early era of the 2000s because that's what's coming. Like that is coming in hard and hot is that style of play.
Yeah.
Quick,
Smashing.
inside, direct. QID. What
what Joey was saying.
Yeah, what Joey was saying. So and if you don't hit targets in your forward line, and if you decide to do a Jack Higgins and run out onto the half forward flank, provide a good lead and swing around and chuck it on your right boot and almost put it out of bounds 3 times in a row, then you're not going to get goals and you're not going to win games. You need to go back, assess the options and let your forward line work it out. Let the stew just circle around and boil a bit. You know, you got to make sure you're turning it over. Otherwise, the edges are going to burn.
And that's what happened. That's what, like, the new Richmond coach, McWalter, he did that better than anyone under Ross, didn't he?
Yes.
Half forward, he'd mark the ball. He never played on. He never ran off his mark. He took it. He always went back, very robotic almost. 5 steps back, 10 steps back. Looked at there's Rui. Okay, I'm putting it 10 meters in front of him. Mark. Goal.
Yeah.
Harsh. Do you reckon McWalter is doing a Higgins and, trying to take the mark and then just taking off, or is he just focusing on?
He's focusing.
I'm 30 meters
He's
out.
slowing down.
I'm sinking this grab.
Yeah.
And
So,
but just quickly, boys. I don't know how your knowledge of the laws of the game are, but one thing that really, really bothered me was in that third quarter when we're getting a bit of a run on, and Nasiah again is just streaming up through the guts. He was so good to watch. His form's been unbelievable, but he's running in. Kings just kicked 2 goals in quick succession, and he kicks it, but it hits the umpire.
Yeah,
it bounces off.
Yeah.
Is that not? And then Hawthorn get it, and then then it winds up. The next result is them kicking a goal, whereas that would have been an Nasiah bullet going to where it needs to. Are the rules not that if an umpire affects the ball, like gets in the way and disrupts it, is that a ball up?
I believe so.
I think usually it is. Yeah, they stop the play and just throw the ball up.
Yeah.
Also, the Dylan Moore snap where he marks it over Stocker in the last quarter and plays on when he's out of bounds. Very rarely, but sometimes they'll say you played on, you're out of bounds. It's a throw in. Because he ran, he ran a couple of a meter or 2 out of bounds, ran around and snapped the goal. You see a player do that.
Rules are rules.
On the wing, and the rules are rules. Yeah, but it's in the moment, and they just let it go.
Yeah,
but that's not
us.
Yeah,
we're in a very, very interesting year for umpiring at the moment. There's 4 umpires out in the field. None of them are confident on making a decision, and a lot of them are calling what they think they see, not what they actually see. And a lot of them are still learning the rules. And I can understand that it's very hard. There's a lot of players that don't play AFL football until their 4th or 5th year on a list, but there are just some things that are inexcusable. And when the ball hits you, and it disadvantages the team that has the ball in hand and it goes directly to the opposition, it is definitely a ball up.
Yeah.
There is the lack of critical thinking from as a whole, around the whole round of football, I just saw some decisions that were gobsmacking. There was Brisbane would have had the same situation as us and been 3 goals up. Eric Hipwood took a mark at the top of the goal square where he got 2 hands to it and took it on the second grab. And the umpire called play on. Whereas down the other end of the ground in the first quarter, someone dropped a mark. It came off the back of Brendan Starcevic's head, like an Adelaide player dropped a mark, came off Starcevic's head, and he claimed it as a mark. And they paid it as a mark, and it ended up in a goal Adelaide's way. So there is just a lot of inconsistencies on the football ground right now. Having 4 umpires isn't working. They'll do it for the rest of the year. Wouldn't be surprised if they can it at the end of the year.
Do you know what they need to do? I've said this for years. Other sports do it to a degree, but we just need it in a live action. There are a lot of very experienced umpires that can no longer, put in 15 Ks a game. Their bodies don't allow for it, but their minds are still sharp. They still see. Get them up there, either with the binoculars or they're looking at all these bloody, all these angles that we're seeing at home. We can see that it's a free kick, but just by the name, and they just get on the radio. There's like if it's just a clear free kick, they just call it and just go. You miss one. Let's just go back there. It would cost the game like literally 1 second, 2 seconds for him to just send it through. Just blow your whistle or whatever. They could do it.
Yeah.
All right, boys.
I think we need some junk mail, boys.
We definitely need some junk
break,
mail,
don't we?
Before we do something, as we ease into a nice, we love the junk mail. It's a little bit lighter, but how good was Maxi's mark?
Oh,
that happened right in front of us.
Yes, it did. Yeah.
That happened right, and we had Ravi. He had the camcorder
did he get it?
out.
Did he get it?
Yeah, he got it. He got it. And the scenes when the King's up and about, it's just it's something else, isn't it? Because the excitement, the fervor of when the ball's going near him, he's going to be doing something special.
That was the loudest Marvel's been for a while this year.
It was
got so
good.
loud. Yeah, and he finished it beautifully.
He did. Most importantly, he did. And that was another layer of why it was such a disappointing game, because for once our fans turned up. It was a decent crowd. It was about 30,000. It was the middle of a Saturday. So you're losing a lot of the local footy crowd to that. Yeah. So to get 30 in real sense, that's probably about nearly a 40,000 crowd.
Yeah.
Level 1 packed. But they just, fans turned up, and it's a shame the players didn't themselves.
And as much as Hawthorn were, obviously the better team, if we were going to win that game, it was going to be on Max's boot. Like he was in that sort of vein of form. And after that goal, we didn't really look to go to him. We didn't isolate him. We didn't give him that chance to win the game for us.
Park him in the goal square. He is honestly a player that can be parked in the goal square.
Yeah,
like we've had games
he's not getting outmarked. Sicily's not outmarking him.
No.
We've had games like that in the 04 to 09 where we were off. We'd play a Richmond and it would take a Milne to kick 7 and we'd win by 10 points. And it's like, okay, we won because of a player. Sometimes you need your stars to deliver. And he was in that sort of form that I thought if we got it to him enough, we would have won the game. But we didn't play it smart enough. So we cop what we deserve, really.
Yeah.
And Filippo, his goal from outside 50.
Beautiful.
That man, for the rest of his career, if he is marking a ball within 60 meters on a slight angle or in front, you're having a shot always. None of this team first bullshit. He's the only one on he's the only one on our list, except for maybe Rowe and maybe Mason, that can dob him from 50, outside 50.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm with you. Boys,
alrighty.
Let's digress. Jakey's junk mail.
Let's do it.
Jakey's junk mail. Jakey's junk mail. Jakey's junk mail. Jakey's junk mail.
Marshy, I just spotted who got in the disposal A little thing that came up there, listeners. It's just on the right hand side of
Oh, on the
YouTube
junk
there.
mail intro.
Junk
I
mail
saw.
intro. Who got in the disposal? Not, not many.
I'm never changing that intro.
Can we do
Oh.
one episode where we just answer those questions? Because
Do it. Yeah, could do it in slow mo and get
Yeah.
a few there. Yeah. Yeah, it's ironic that they're part of the intro, but I've never actually put them on junk mail. All right. I wish there were some positive ones, boys, but as you can understand, the fans want to share their thoughts. So let's
Can
let at it.
I
Yep.
put in a positive before we go into all the negatives?
Yeah, yeah.
I'm so glad this has happened before the buy and not after it. It's happened before
yeah.
we've got time to fix it. So,
Yes.
you know,
That's
and
right. That's
yeah,
right.
and last year it didn't. So,
No.
you know, I think this year is different, and I think we're gonna come out a better side. So
It's almost sort of like a circuit breaker, isn't it? Because
Yeah.
this year has just, without knowing what's going on in the field, the similarities are so uncanny to
Yeah.
what happened last year. So
Mm.
the fact that we're not 8-3 that's probably a good thing, like you say, for those reasons. And it was good that we gave ourselves a mulligan against Adelaide.
Yeah.
And the competition gave us a mulligan by everyone around us dropping games. So
yeah, how good,
Mm.
how bloody good was that? Like we're still fifth. Why?
yeah.
We should be sixth or seventh. It's just ridiculous.
All
Sounds
right. Let's do it. Josh, he's got one. He said Wilkie spoke so well after our loss in the rooms. He always fronts up to speak when we're down. We really don't hear from Steelers much, and with all of his injuries and form fluctuations, is next year the time we hand the captaincy over to Callum Wilkie?
Yeah, as long as Steely doesn't want to give it up. That's always my biggest thing, is that you ask them if they want to be captain next year. And by asking them, they know, okay, well, maybe you're looking at someone else here. Maybe you're looking at Cal to take over. And then Steely's got the decision to go, okay, well, if I am going to be captain next year, what do I need to fix? And how do I get there? And if he doesn't reckon he's the right man for the club, then he will hand it over.
It still strikes me as a Robert Harvey. Harvey was captain once for a brief period, and we know he's a very, very, very good footballer. But the captaincy, that wasn't a be all for him. He led by action, so I could see Steele going down that route.
Yeah.
This one's from Chad. There were moments from some players towards the end of the game that were pure desperation and body on the line moments. Then there were moments where easy tackles were missed, moments where the body wasn't put on the line and when needed, and frustratingly moments of jokes and laughter after the final siren with the opposition. Cuddly Ross out, Ross the boss in.
Yeah, I think so. I think you can look at a couple of I get so disenchanted with the whole AFL mates with the opposition after the game.
Yeah.
I think if it's a great contest and you get done by a side that is dead set better than you, higher on the ladder, you expected to come in and have a really tough game and you go down, you can have a chat after the game to the opposition. I don't mind that, as long as you've left everything out on the ground. We didn't leave everything out on the ground, and I hate seeing players having a laugh and having a chat. You know, Dan Butler's got his brother out there and everything like that. I'm shitty after a loss, even at local level. Where's the competitive base?
100%.
Does it matter?
In the aisle, we had one of the young fellas in absolute tears after the game. That's how much it meant to him. And to see blokes out there having a fucking laugh, well, excuse the French, but having a laugh, collecting a paycheck after basically bunking on their shift for the day, it's really disappointing.
Yeah, and it's a thing in local footy as well. You get into your change rooms, you have a chat with your coach about what happened during the game and what you're going to work on at training, and it's sometimes you get a bit of a yell. And then after that, the slabs come out and you have a beer with the opposition, but not until you feel the defeat. And if you don't feel the defeat in the AFL, how do you expect to feel the glory?
Yep.
Yeah, well said.
This is from Anthony. Just a question similar to the leadership one about Cal Wilkie and how He thinks he needs to be a bit more critical of Howard and Battle down back with dropping marks and letting players have 2 meters leading off them.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can be
it is.
critical, but they know
It's a
what they've done wrong.
balance. It's a balance.
It is very much a balance, but they know what they do wrong. They are filthy with themselves when they don't get it right, and as are most defenders. But I think everyone should take on, everyone's not doing things that they were doing in the first 5 rounds of footy, and that's why I think they should be upset after a loss, is because they know that they're better. But I don't think they need to yell at each other. I don't think they need to go. I don't think they need to kick up the ass if they're lacking confidence, because they're doing all the hard work to get into the right spot. They're not sticking it. So they need the encouragement, and they need someone to go, "Oi, soft hands, boys, soft hands."
But that's it. But like, I don't know that there is that line that there's the holding to account, because I think there was too much of that in the past where it's just like, oh, she'll be right, next time, next time sport. But like you say, it's a confidence thing, and it's easy to be critical, and that's why we're all, ourselves, we're critical of the boys because we know what they can do. We've seen them do it.
Yeah.
It's not like we're saying, oh, Max King's shit because he can't kick 10 goals. We haven't seen him kick 10 goals. That's probably a loose, example. But Wilkie, Battle, he's gone into his shell. And as a team, for us to succeed, we can't be having that. So that direct feedback, that's, they said that was one of the biggest things to come out of the review last year. So it's good to see Wilkie carrying that into the public spotlight, because we know Ross, he's not really letting anything out at the cameras. But it's good to see one of our leaders, we're not just going to go get to work. For him to candidly say 2 of his fellow backmen need to lift, and he needs to really address that's pretty strong. And he came out and said, as a team, we just weren't desperate enough. And that's exactly what we saw.
Yeah.
So,
but
love Wilkie.
Yeah. But just in terms of if you get done by your man and you haven't done the right thing, and it sucks being a defender. It's the most isolating place on the field, because you get the best players in the AFL up forward, the most skillful players, the biggest players. So your back's against the wall every single week. So I think when you're not chopping each other out, you can get frustrated with one another and say, hey, I need some help. But if someone makes a mistake like dropping a mark, they know they've dropped a mark and they've made a mistake. You need to get over to them and say, oi, you're better. You're better. Yeah. What do? We go soft hands. We get our body behind it, and you positively reinforce them, because they'll be shitty with themselves anyway, and they'll keep making the mistake until they get a pat on the back and go, oi, you're all right, mate. Keep going.
That's it. Yeah. And sorry, super quick. But one thing I've really enjoyed about Dukes this year, and we've been, not too impressed with in the past, but his body language has been fantastic all year, and he's been under the pump, and he's rightly or wrongly, I think more wrongly, has become the whipping boy of the Saints community.
Shocking. Oh God, so over it.
I'm so over it, and I thought he actually had a pretty decent game. But yeah, anyways, that's just my 2 bob.
Yeah. This one's not related to the game, thank God. This is from Lex. Can you remind us of each of the sound snippets from the opening credit of the Saints TV theme? Joycey, you put it together, mate.
I did put it together.
We've got the boundary line.
We've got Barker taking a massive mark. Big magnificent mark by Barker. That was against Essendon in the 80s. So that was a screamer. We got the Fraser Gehrig from 2003 against North Melbourne, when Harvey went on a charge through the centre of the ground, and there was 2 minutes left in the match, and Fraser kicked the winner.
Yep.
Rewalt Remarkable was when he went back with the flight in 2004 against Sydney.
Yep, round
11. And then, of course, they hit the boundary line from the 66 grand final.
Jeansy.
So,
yep.
Yeah.
That's good, actually. Yeah, because I didn't know all of that.
Yeah.
So, I think that's all of them.
Lex Luger.
Yeah, good one.
Yeah, I think that's all of them, isn't it? I think so. This one's from Timmy. If we were selecting our round 13 match against Sydney, what are our ins and our outs right now? Now, just say ins, names, outs, names. Just simple as that.
Billings. I want Billings in.
So in for you, Billings.
Yeah, Billings in, Patton out.
Windy in.
Windy in. Get Windy in.
Maybe.
Ooh.
Yeah, okay, Windy in.
Or Jack Bartel. Can someone tell me what's wrong with him? Because there's a lot of commentary about Windy, and Ross has spoken about him directly, but we haven't heard anyone talk about Bartel, to be honest. And all the VFL reports are that he's just dominating.
Yeah.
From Bachelor. So I'd like to know what he's done that doesn't quite fit with what we're trying to achieve, because I'm not going to single out some players, but I feel like he could go into the midfield and provide a bit of clean hands. He's a strong body and is some of that defensive aptitude. So I'd like, what's wrong with him?
Yeah.
Do you guys know?
No. I thought it was a fitness thing, but I feel like his fitness is totally fine.
Another big one from the weekend as well. I didn't think that Jimmy Webster had a good game.
Joycey.
Yeah, no. I know. He's your boy. I know.
No, I thought he was fantastic. He was one of the few putting
made him look stupid. So
that's again, but that goes to blokes.
That's his opponent.
Oh yeah, so whoop-de-doo. Like he's trying to do everything. He was the only one that bloody put his body on the line.
Yeah, I agreed that he put his body on the line and everything like that, but I still don't think that you can let Luke Bruce win the match, essentially. Like that first goal that he kicked, I looked at it and I went, geez, that's bad.
Yeah, but again, it's a team defense kind of thing. So.
Yeah, it is a team defense, but I think he made Jimmy Webster, unfortunately, look a little bit slow.
The last mark, though, that sealed the game, that was on Pato.
Yeah, that was on Pato. Yeah, I'll give you that.
Can't believe it just fell. How do you take a chest mark when you're literally hugging your opponent? Like, how does it fall into his arms?
Yeah.
Fucking punch that thing, you know?
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. Anyway, this one's from Kieran.
Oh, I'll give you one more. One more.
Yep.
Membry in, Filippo out. That'd be my last. Yeah.
Yeah. See, I was thinking that, but because of how I thought he impressed me a little bit on the weekend, Filippo again.
Yeah, it took a big mark.
And he's got the rest this week. I just feel like playing it. I just don't think there's much to prove at Sandy.
Yeah.
Like his form's not bad. Like
no, it's not.
He's kicked that goal. He was physical.
He was more. He just needs a rest though.
Yeah,
he was right up there for pressure acts again. I think he was number one for us with 29, I believe.
Yeah.
Unless that was last week, but yeah, he was right up there. So Ross is not dropping a guy that's number one for pressure acts, I don't think.
Nah, I don't think so. I think you're right there.
Kieran's asking, would you trade for the number one draft pick, Harley Reid? I don't even know how, but how could we? What pick would we have right now?
I don't know. They can have Gresham and NX3 first round draft picks, but he's the type of kid we need. He's the bull. He's the big bull that we need.
Looking at DeGoey doing things yesterday against North, I'm like, bloody hell. Like,
kind of sucks, doesn't it?
Would have been nice, yeah. But I'm trying to find a positive one to end on, boys. Actually, it's not a question, but we'll end it on this. Darcy says Liam Stocker is a star. Needs some more appreciation for his jet.
Absolutely.
We love Stocker.
Loving him.
Yeah. Good boy. Yeah. Loving your work ethic, mate.
Yeah.
He's killing it.
Been a great. Oh, and Charlie's asking, this one's a bit ridiculous, but would you trial Caminiti as a backman at all?
Oh, centre half back.
Like,
I don't mind
he's
that.
got the jukes. I'm just a bit worried about his mobility, but apart from that,
get a preseason into him first, I reckon,
and
then maybe give him a run. But yeah, I don't know. We're really trying to fill holes here. We're missing
we are
a few things, and this is what I was talking to old man Joyce, and we're talking about players that we'd like to get in, and we'd love a big centre. Firstly, thank you to everyone for listening to and sending in questions to Jakey's Junk Mail.
Yes,
brought to you
thank
by
you, everyone.
But we were looking at the holes that need filling, and we went from other clubs. Who would you want in your team?
Yeah.
And you've got 3 choices, and that's where I said to him I was looking at Mitch Robinson, so I went Mitch Robinson, Ben King to play at centre half forward, and I'd go Harry Himmelberg at centre half back, because I think they're the 3 things that we're really, really missing at the moment: is a big dominant centre half forward, a big dominant centre half back, and a bullish midfielder. So
Yeah.
you know, from what would be available to you at the end of the year, what would you grab? What do you boys reckon? Is there anyone that comes to mind where you're like, geez,
Yeah.
I like. I think
James Sicily, is he available? Or?
I reckon Himmelberg would be choice. But I would really. I'd like Whitfield. I'd like Lockie Whitfield. I know he's not that bull, but I don't think our list has been built for that. I reckon he could be one that breaks lines, sort of gives us what Zachy Jones does, but actually plays.
I would have agreed with you, but when
Okay.
with Naz, I think we've already got that player, to be honest. You know?
Nah, but play him in the guts. He's a midfielder. They're playing him off half back, but he's a goal kicking mid.
He's not that big bodied Jordan De Goey type that that's the ilk that we're looking for here, isn't it?
To me, he's very similar to Hunter Clark right now.
Yeah.
I think they've got very.
What
similar
about Parrish?
capability.
Do you guys like Parrish?
He's
He's gettable.
Yeah, he's another sort of inside mid. I don't know if we need more.
He's more outside. He's definitely
more outside. He's a bit more of a crouch. No, I wouldn't be grabbing Parrish. I think he's just another type A midfielder that we've got, 4
I still
of.
think Zohar was a big miss, and chucking him in the middle would have been beautiful.
Yeah. Oh, what are North Melbourne doing and not chucking him in the middle?
He's not fit enough.
Yeah,
that's what my North mate. That's what my North mates reckon. He's just not fit. He's like Stringer.
Okay. Gotcha. Just not in the headspace.
I can't think of anyone else really who would be available.
Well, we do our best shopping on the side of the road. We like the hard rubbish.
Yeah, we do.
Your Stockers, the Tim Membrys, the Dylan Robertons of the world. And it's been spoken about. But Paddy Dow, I reckon he's one that. Nah, I know you guys.
We'll let you go, Marshy. We'll let you say what you want, buddy. It's all good.
Yeah. Thank you for letting me speak.
Go for it, buddy.
But nah, he's explosive. And all the Carlton people, they believe my mates. They can't understand why he's getting the game, and they're saying the same thing about Stocker. And you watch him at VFL, and he is a bit of a bull in terms of he gets it. He's explosive, but they've got Cripps, Walsh. They've got all of that. So. For something that's cheap, I reckon that could be an option.
On the flip side, I did speak to Dan, or aka Pommy in Oz, he's on Blue Abroad as well, but he's a mad Carlton, and I asked him, out of Stocker and Dow, in terms of ability and skill, are they similar? And he's like, Stocker 1,000,000 times better than Paddy Dow.
Yeah, because to me, when I was always watching Paddy Dow because he was a high draft pick. His skill was just really, really poor. And I don't know if that's been fixed, and it's only something that can be tested at AFL level. But that was one thing that I always noticed about him was whenever he dropped the ball onto his boot, it would barely hit the front of it. So that would be the danger for me. And I don't know.
Yeah.
We could get him cheap. He'd come cheap. He wouldn't cost a lot. But
I just can't wait. I can't wait for us to go shopping at the end of the year.
Yeah, this off season. This off season is going to be fun. It's going to be fun.
Yeah. Destination Saints footy.
That's it,
boys.
I think that might be it, boys. That's we've got the bye, so that's it. No Saints footy on the weekend, but still plenty to come on the channel, as we all know.
Yeah, spot on. And
I had a few people bugging me on the weekend saying,
about what? About what?
Our cheeky guest is. Mum's the word.
The second teaser's out, and we can let the listeners know that the reveal will be Wednesday night and Thursday night, 6 p.m. all streaming platforms and on YouTube.
Don't you
The
worry
full
about Thursday
episode
night
with
football.
with our special. There's no Thursday night footy. No.
That's what I'm saying. Don't worry
yeah.
about it.
There's Thursday night Saints footy. Don't worry about that.
That's it.
So stay
Yeah.
tuned.
Yeah,
I got a
beautiful.
minute.
You got a minute? Oh,
Yeah.
we've got
Yeah.
Let's just get your clip
Yeah,
going.
far away.
Hit
Alright.
that shit, Jakey.
Marshy's minute. Marshy's minute. Marshy's minute. Marshy's minute.
So there's a lot of faux pas. We already spoke about one, or I spoke about one in introducing Mitch Allison. That was bad. But I had one where a little bit later. So I went to the aisle, right? I went back to the aisle and, just catching up with everybody and whatnot. And what I do when I get into the aisle is I pretty much like to get my William Wallace on and just sort of a bit of a rallying Josh battle cry, if you will. And it typically goes with the can you dig it Sainters. And, people usually, I don't know, either give a shit or don't. Usually they don't. And everyone was particularly quiet and they just gave it the, people have forgotten they didn't put any sugar in their coffees today or something. So I'm like, we're not at a funeral, something to those. But then I realized, and this is on the stadium as well, to be honest, because I think they were doing like either the welcome to country or something, but it was so quiet. I couldn't hear. I thought it was just like, background PA noise. So I've come in and these, I'm pretty sure, I'm 95% sure I've interrupted it with that. And I just felt sick to the guts because if that was the case, I do sincerely apologize to the
This is not
29.
a Marshy's minute. This is a public
This
apology.
isn't
So I apologize to 29 and 30, but if that was the case, because I didn't really soak it in at the time, but thinking back, I'm like, because usually a few people get up and about, but this one was a little bit, anyways. And I've got another one. This one is actually more a minute, but the only communications from the club about Sandringham playing at RSEA Park after the game at a time when most people could go there and watch it. The only person was Ross Lyon in his press conference saying,
true.
Can you guys just wrap it up because I want to go watch Windy and the boys down at Moorabbin. And sure, we had a shit loss. So that accounts for a fair bit of it. But I had it up on the AFL app watching it. I was looking after Tilly, so I couldn't get down there. But there was no one there. And, it's their Indigenous round too. So they had a nice jumper, like both the Southern Saints and Sandy, and played Coburg, had a good win. But
Good win.
there was nothing from the club channels. It was all left on Sandy to sort of pump it up a little bit. But, there's no what's on it, Moorabbin or whatever. I just don't think it would have been hard to communicate that. And especially after a disappointing loss, let's get down there. Let's try, go and watch just the future. And they had a good win. Jack Paris did well. Isaac Keeler. So a couple of the Indigenous fellas played really well. Windy, of course. I think the Saints dropped the ball a bit in that respect. And because we don't get many Sandy games at RSEA. So, I just thought that was a little bit disappointing.
Yep.
Well said. Yep. All right, boys. Well, off into the bye. I'm going to have myself a nice weekend at home.
Yep.
Chillax.
I'm going to the
puppies.
hub.
What's that? You're going to the
I'm
hub?
going
Yeah, Marshy's off to Noosa, which I'm immensely
That's
jealous
right.
about.
Yeah, bloody jealous,
You're
man.
going to warm your bones up.
I might just take a trip down there. Just see you down there next week.
Come say good day. It'll be like the Carlton draft ad. Oh, Jakey, what are you doing?
Hey, mate. Didn't know you were here.
Joycey, is that you?
Legendary boys. Alrighty. Well, enjoy the rest of your night, fellas. Enjoy the rest of your week, and may you enjoy the weekend without having the stresses of Saints footy upon your shoulders. And last but not least, go Sainers, coming back strong after the bye. Thursday night football.
Go Sainers.
I really love my Saints footy, and I love the feeling. So does a fan. footy, Saints footy, Saints footy,